Listen, I was observing a conversation yesterday regarding the military. So I want to come on live, and I want to come on both Facebook channels. I'm here in my private Facebook group, Generational Wealth Academy, of course, as you guys get the cutting edge information that the rest of my pages don't get. And I'm also coming on my personal Facebook page because this message is important. So I want to be able to kind of talk and convey and get some clarity as it relates to the military. So the conversation that was being had was that every child should be mandated to go to the military upon graduating high school. So a lot of people was in disagreement with it. It was mainly women, moms, that were in disagreement with it. So a lot of the dads chimed in, said, I'm absolutely all for it. I'm a United States Air Force veteran. Tara is a United States Air Force veteran. Navy veteran. And our oldest, DJ, he is a current active duty United States Airman as an aerospace medic tech. So the point I want to talk about here this morning is understanding the value of the military. I kind of wrote down a list of things. I want to kind of stay on track here. So one person said that the military isn't for everyone and that we shouldn't go. But here again, college isn't for everyone. But the mainstream society always tends to think that you automatically supposed to go to college. But college isn't for everyone. You guys heard me talk many times when people talk about Caden graduating high school at 13. Well, are you going to college next? Why is that the most default statement that people make? I think that's like the dumbest question to ask, because we've done research and the data that we come up with shows that most of the people that ask, is he going to college, never even been to college. So that leads my point in discussing where people make assessments without experience. A lot of people talk about the military. Oh, I would never go to the military. It's a horrible place, but you never been. Now, let me address the elephant in the room when it comes to the military first. The biggest objection or concern that you hear people talk about is, I don't want to go to war. Listen, the military is not about war. It's like people think that you raise your right hand, swear in, and you're going off to Afghanistan tomorrow. Man, come on. Use some common sense. Listen, I served in the United States Air Force during wartime. I never saw actual combat. Tara served during the tail end of the same war, in the beginning of a new war, the Afghanistan war. She went to places in the Middle East, but didn't see war as far as bombs hitting them and everything. Were we both in areas? Yeah, we were both in specific areas that were dangerous. However, we never went into combat. So many times in our community, my community that looks like me, you've always heard that uncle that say, I'm not fighting no white man's military. Okay, that was the dumbest statement. Now, whether a country goes to war or not, whether you believe in the philosophy of war, that's a whole nother animal. But here's the deal. A lot of things with the military is branch dependent. Now, you may think I'm biased because I was in the Air Force, but the Air Force is the best branch to go to if you're going to the military. Second option would be the Navy, tied with maybe Coast Guard. And then after that, it's your discretion what you choose. Now, my dad, my brother were in the Army. My great uncle, he was in the Air Force. So we have different professions throughout my family as well. Tara was Navy. But here's the mindset with that. When you, during wartime, during the Persian Gulf War, during Desert Storm, back when I served, during the Afghanistan War, and Tara served, when we were at war and you saw soldiers dying that were on the front line, on the Sunday weekly news, you would always see in memoriam of soldiers that have fallen. Most of those were always Marines first. They led the numbers, and then Army second. You never saw Air Force guys dying in the military. You never saw Navy people dying in the military. If an Air Force guy died during wartime, it was because he was in a supply closet and a bunch of boxes fell on him. Like, serious. It was a freak accident or some type of mistake that happened that would cause an airman or seaman to die during wartime. It wasn't because of conflict on the field. So again, with that said, the Air Force is the highest aptitude branch in the United States military, so it takes some brains to get in. Navy is a strong second. So I'm not saying that to diminish any other branches. My aim here is to give you clarity in understanding the military, how it operates, how it does not operate, and debunk a lot of myths that people have. So again, if people are in a position where they've never been in the military, you're doing your family members, yourself, or subsequent generations a disservice by sharing erroneous information. And if I can be quite frank too, a lot of people were in the discussion were saying, oh, I don't want my baby going here and all this kind of stuff. Listen, this generation is a soft generation. I'm just going to keep it real. This generation is full of soft kids, and that comes from soft parenting. That's just my humble but accurate opinion. But in the discussion too, it was said, well, is that where you got discipline? No, I got discipline in my house as a child growing up. If anything, the military gave me, it honed in my being responsible. It increased that, if anything, but it didn't necessarily teach me discipline because I was already disciplined. My parents did an excellent job of disciplining us as children so that we could grow up into effective, disciplined, well-mannered young adults. One of the comments I heard in there was like, well, I don't want my kids working for the dirty government. Man, half of the people in that thread probably work for the government, work for the post office, worked as a teacher, worked for state jobs, county jobs. So again, it's just people feel that it's just the default comments or statements to make about the military when not being in. Now, I'm going to be very upfront. I thoroughly enjoyed my service in the Air Force. Man, I didn't even see it as a military. I was having this discussion with Tara last night. Listen, I worked on the flight line. So I wore my BDU pants. For you non-military folks, those are the green camouflage pants, my boots, and a t-shirt. I never wore the top of my BDUs because I worked on a flight line. I never wore a hat. So to me, it was like just go have fun, playing on airplanes. That was my life in the Air Force. I played with airplanes, high-fluting engines and avionics, all that kind. It was absolutely fun. Get to work outside in Southern California in the beautiful weather, feeling the Santa Ana winds coming. I had an absolute blast in the Air Force, not to mention the lifelong benefits I have from serving as a veteran in the United States Air Force, and Tara shares those same benefits as well, being a naval veteran as well. So you got to look at the whole dynamic of the military. It ain't about war. It's about learning some things, responsibility, some honor, showing that you can be focused, showing that you can be committed to something. But here's the thing too, so many people talk about, oh, I'm scared to go to the military, I'm scared to have my kid go to the military because of war, but you weren't scared to get that student loan of $150,000. You weren't scared to send your kid to let me just be frank. It's more school shootings. Your kid has a higher probability of being shot on a college campus than in the United States military. I'm just gonna keep that real. Think about it. Look at all the school shootings that's happened. Your child is in a more dangerous position going to a college institution getting shot where they're unarmed as opposed to being armed as military personnel in a war zone, which never happens. Comment in here if you personally know someone who's been killed in combat in the last 20 years in the United States military. It's like serious. When my dad served in the Army, he watched multiple of his friends get killed in the Vietnam War. So therefore, he has tangible proof. He was there. My dad was in combat. Understand? But that still didn't scare me away from going to the military. That didn't scare my brother away from going to the military, because we used our common sense and we did due diligence and research in understanding why we even wanted to go to the military. Because like most people, I got the choices, my brother got the choices that most parents give their kids. When you graduate high school, you're going to either go to college, you're going to get a job, or you're going to the military. Well, I don't like being told what to do, so I wasn't going to get a job. And good God, y'all know I don't like school. I was a C student, just wanting to see my way out, so I wasn't going the college route. So I said, hey, let's go to the military. But if you're going to go to the military, go to the absolute best branch. So I went to the United States Air Force. I have a lifetime of benefits that are untouchable anywhere else throughout people's journeys, working regular jobs, work for the government. So again, do your due diligence, find out how it's beneficial. And let me close with this. DJ, for an example, he's United States Air Force aerospace medic tech. So with that, DJ went to school to be a medic. DJ learned in 6 months what it would take a person 18 to 24 months in the civilian sector to accomplish. DJ immediately went into the hospital working the very next day. He helped give birth to a child his first day. The first week, he helped treat a gunshot victim who had brain trauma, shot in the head. He was able to treat that. You're not able to do that going to school to become a medic. You're playing with resuscitation Annie. Y'all remember CPR Annie from school? That's your client. That's your customer. DJ is working on real folks. And it was fully funded by the United States Air Force. Now, while DJ is currently in the military, if he decides to go to school, let's say to be a dentist, he can do that. Completely funded by the United States Air Force. But wait a minute. When DJ gets out of the military, he's in for 6 years for sure now. I don't know if he wants to re-enlist or not, but if he get out in 6 years, guess what? He still has access to educational funds through the United States Air Force. So let's say he decided, I want to be an architect. So that'd be 3 hard skill sets that could all generate over 6 figures each. And it also positions him that he can open his own practice in any said career path that he chose. And it's completely funded by the United States Air Force. Now, really compare going to college to what I just explained to you, or at least the route that most people go to college, which is to go to school, get student loan debt, and then you have to enter into that career underwater, attempting to pay your student loans back, attempting to live life, attempting to pay rent or mortgage, your car note, groceries, just being able to sustain. DJ's gonna come out in 6 years, bona fide, ready to go, money in pocket. We're teaching him good investments now. He's gonna buy real estate property while he's in the military. He's gonna be able to get out and get a house through using the VA loan program. Come on, man. But people will allow the foolery of societal myths to guide or direct them in paths in life. But many times adults, parents have gone to college and didn't have favorable results. But because it's what your parents, what your grandparents told you, you got to go to college, you then turn that same fate upon your children. When many times we may have had negative results. But it's like, well, this is what I did. This is what your grandparents did. You got to follow in suit. I just shared the other earlier this week where I talked about, I know a person who the father, the son, and the grandson all went to the same college. They're all dentists. They all pledged for the same fraternity. But then we wonder why kids can't make critical thinking decisions. It's because you've already thought for them. College is not the end all, the be all. Like Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's, said, going to college does not guarantee success. Neither does its absence ensure failure. But so many times people stay in that paradigm thought process of believing that you got to send your kids to college, you got to go to school, and so forth. And listen, when it didn't work for you, why would you tell your kids to do the same thing? That does not pass the common sense test. So I say all that to say is that I'm an Air Force vet, Tara's a Navy vet, which has very little to do with how we live financially today. We've just built businesses. But I will tell you this, the military position, both of us, set us both up that we didn't have to incur debt by furthering our education so that we can use that capital and deploy that capital in other areas to build multiple companies, to be able to have the time and the resources to be able to help our children develop their businesses, their skill sets. So think about that. Think about that. Do you need to revisit the option of military on the table for your kids? a lot of kids, not yours, I'm just saying generally, a lot of kids are buck wild out here and they need some military. They need some discipline. They need some responsibility. So think about that before you demand that your kids go to college. If you want to send them to college, that's great. At least do it the smart way. You guys always hear me talk about, I don't work hard, I work smart. So if you want to send them to college, absolutely fine. Use the proper or a good tool that they can use to leverage so that you don't have debt. Because watch this, the more problems that they have financially, struggling, the higher the propensity that they're going to come back home and sleep on your couch or go back to their bedroom in your house, which would then prolong your goals for retirement. See, that's why Tara and I felt it very important to teach our kids financial literacy at an early age, because the quicker they start learning about business acumen and fiscal responsibilities, that ensures that they don't have to come back home because of financial distress, which now shortens your retirement curve on the back end. So if you can get them in a position even earlier than anticipated or what society think they should be taught, now that positions you to be able to do the things that you want to do quicker and longer because you solve the money problem. But many times people don't solve that problem because they send their kids to school and have student loan. I know people my age who still have student loans and are trying to pay the bill for their kids in college or grandkids in college. Come on, man, you can't keep doing the same thing. This is 2024. I'm already in 2024. 2023 is over for me. I'm already well into 2024. You got to have a different mindset going into the new year. If what you've been doing to make money for the last 5 years hasn't worked to accomplish the dreams and goals that you want, you got to do something different. You're going to do this for another 5 years? You're going to do it for another 15 years? Listen, sometimes this is my year-end talk. Sometimes I do this every year where I kind of go in a little bit. I just got to let loose a little bit, but it's important that somebody in your life you allow and give permission to talk to you freely. Talk to you real talk. You know, I'm not all this highfalutin professional college. Man, listen, get your sugar honey iced tea together. Life is short. We're going into a new year. Everybody say Happy New Year and Happy New Year, when actually it's never a new year for most people. It's just the next year. You got to be intentional about making your next year a true new year and not just a new year, next year. Are you making the same amount of money this year than you did last year? I don't want to hear all that. Oh, Sean, I got a 3% raise. That ain't nothing. Inflation gobbled that up. Have you moved the needle? Have you added a zero to your bank account since last year? If the answer is no, you might need to do something different. If you've been doing a professional career for 10 years and you cannot just simply go and get the things in life that you want and not go in debt doing it, that way of making money doesn't work. It really doesn't. So, you know, my aim is never for people to like me. Just like my message. But in reality, you don't have to like the message, but at least listen to the message and apply the message and make it impactful in your life for your legacy. I don't want to leave this planet and not have my great grandkids clearly, concisely know who I am, who I was, and what I did. When you go down the halls of families like the Rothschilds, the Vanderbilts, the Kennedys, the Rockefellers, you can take the smallest child and they know every picture on the wall and who they are and what they did to affect positive economic development in their family. I ain't afraid to be that one that's gonna be like, yeah, man, that's Uncle Bobo right there, man. He was just a wino. He ain't do nothing to help us financially. I've written 44 books. My very first book, Leaning Forward Towards Success, in 2008, I wrote that book as a love letter to my kids and my descendants. And then I continued writing love letters, continued writing and writing and writing. And now I have 44 love letters to my kids. But I realized that I couldn't just keep this hoarded just in my family. I said, you know what? I got to make an impact. You guys hear how I end all of my talks? Make impact and make money while you're doing it. Listen, anybody can make money, but are you making an impact? But it's almost impossible to make impact without making the money. I had a mentor told me one time, the same mentor that laughed when I told him I made 6 figures a year. And he said, why does it take you a whole year to make 6 figures? This same mentor told me that the impact you make, you have to make an indelible print that your name will echo in eternity. Many of us are gonna pass on and no one will ever remember your name. Even your own family, no one will remember you, because you didn't shake the world. When I walk, I crack sidewalks with my impact and what I do. So I'm finished, but do yourself a service by understanding the military service, and don't handicap your children by starting them off economically distressed because they have a student loan because you forced them to go to college, as opposed to giving them options. One thing about children, we have to position them to be in a position where they can make their own decisions with guidance from us as parents, where we can implement some wisdom attached to the guidance. But when you have a 23-year-old child and you're still making decisions for them, you're determining who they can and can't date, what school they must go to, what job they can and cannot take, you are handicapping that child, which in essence is crushing you on the back end when it comes to you being able to do the things you want to do. All right, guys, I put a link down there. If you want to reach out to Tara and I and understand how we succeed at the highest levels that we do, how we develop profitable children, well-mannered children, how we have a family bond, we have synergy in our family. If this is something you want to do, you want to go into 2024 differently, effectively, let's connect. All right, guys, Dr. Sean J. Harris, make impact, make money while you're doing it.